your donors are ready to give. Bloomerang's 2026 Giving Signals report surveyed more than 1,000 active donors and found that 91% say people need more help than ever right now, and that urgency is moving them to give. The generosity is there. Your organization can capture it. Bloomerang helps you understand your donors, act on the right signals, and raise more. You can download the free report at bloomerang.com. That's bloomerang.com.
Welcome to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast for nonprofit leaders, mission-driven creatives, and social entrepreneurs. Get ready to stop dreaming and start doing. Here, ideas become action. We prioritize purpose and profit. You ready? Let's go. All right, y'all. I have a very special group of guests today from the Kids Hub Child Advocacy Center. And I'm so excited to welcome the three of you on. Before we say hello and do introductions, I'm going to set the stage for our listeners, which is I'm at GiveCon. We're on a break between our sessions. And all of a sudden, I start chatting with Paige and Erica. And then as we're chatting, I'm like, I know you. We met last year at GiveCon. So it was like very much like a, oh, yeah. And as they tell me about their fundraising success and about what they've been able to do in a short period of time, I was like, stop, you have to come on the podcast. So I'm very excited for this juicy conversation today. With that, let's say hello and a round of intros. DiDi, let's start with you.
Hey, I'm DiDi Ellis, and I'm the founder and CEO of Kids Hub Child Advocacy Center.
And I'm Erica Smith, and I'm the Director of Development.
And then I'm Paige Timms, and I'm our Donor Relations Manager.
And let's set the stage a little bit just for folks. Tell us about the work you do, when you were founded. And it sounds like in the past 2.5, 3 years, there's been a big amount of growth. So let's do kind of an overview to start.
So we've been in operation for about 11 years. We started very grassroots effort. We're a child advocacy center. So where we're located in the southern part of the state, our children were having to travel about 2.5 to 3 hours, whether it was north, west, or south for services. And I happened to get a degree in counseling. I have a psych degree and then a counseling degree. And then I was traveling myself an hour and a half over to provide mental health services for kids that have been victims of abuse, and really fell in love with the Child Advocacy Center model, the multidisciplinary team model, but driving 5 counties over to provide these services to communities that I didn't live in, that I didn't play in, that I didn't work in. It really just kind of said, so what are we going to do about the kids in the community that I do live in, since there's not a child advocacy center? And so I had a really great just group of people around me at the time that said, hey, but if not you, then who? And so like any good glutton for punishment, I started a nonprofit. And so, and I feel like that's listening, that's been in that role of founder is like, yeah, you were crazy. And so I get a lot of calls about help me start a nonprofit. And I'm like, I'm sorry, PTSD, like I've repressed that trauma. I can't help you with the groundwork of a nonprofit. But we started with the intention of serving child abuse victims. And so we wanted to make sure that children had a place, a physical place where they could come, where all of our partner agencies, law enforcement, child protective services could meet, could listen to them share their experiences, and hopefully one video and audio recorded interview that could then be used as a part of evidence in the case so that it could go to trial, not necessarily on behalf of the child, but in addition to as supplemental information as to what the child would share during a trial testimony, ultimately making sure that these kids, not only did they share their experiences, but that they had the resources that they needed to overcome and to heal after experiencing child abuse. And not just them, but their caregivers. We wanted to make sure that their caregivers had a path forward as well. And so fast forward 11 years later, and we are, we started out as, what I usually say is we started out as a staff of one that was paid. We had a volunteer director, and then we had an intern. And like I said, I was the volunteer director, not the one getting paid. And so we've quickly morphed into, we have, I believe it's 21 employees now, tons of interns on the regular, so just lots of growth and expansion in 11 years. We're sitting in our 4th building since opening our doors, and we've grown from about, our first office was about 1,300 square feet, and now we're in just under 7,000 square feet.
That's incredible. That's a short period of time to have that much growth. And so I know you're doing a lot of things right. I also know you're doing a lot of things differently because you're not like inching along. You're not really trucking along. Like you're having sweeping growth years to get to there. So maybe Erica, if you want to take this one and page 2, I'd love to hear about like how the two of you work together, how you think about fundraising and your roles in the organization.
Yeah, so I came along first since we really didn't have, it was kind of, okay, where are we going? We're fixing to move into a new building. I came in with a background with marketing and advertising, but not from a nonprofit world. And
Sure,
so
yeah.
I joined DiDi's team, and then we were able to bring Paige on as well. And so it was kind of that, like, me being solo. What do we need to do as far as branding and awareness and fundraising and 100 million things that I didn't have the time to do everything. And so we brought Paige on, and with bringing Paige on, we've actually over the past year really kind of fine-tuned. When we brought her on, what we thought was her job was going to be, it's not really turned out that way. And so we've actually changed her role description twice since she's been here in a year, because we feel like that we were really seeing where the value could be added is having some intentional focus on our donor relationships. And so that's kind of like where we're going to let her land. And I'm going to live more in initial outreach and our fundraising events. And so that partnership with us, as far as, the person that I'm reaching, that's a first time connector coming in, donor, and then she's maintaining those relationships from there on.
I'm picturing a relay race.
Yeah.
So you're passing the baton to Paige.
And I think what we learned too over the last year is kind of like lean into those differences. And so instead of Erica and I trying to do all of it all the time with 2 different approaches, it's kind of like, okay, what are the things you're naturally really gifted at and really enjoy? And what are the things I'm naturally gifted at and enjoy? And let's split that in half. And now I can focus 100% on this. She can focus 100% on this. Does that mean sometimes it's not all hands on deck? That's not in my job description. Absolutely. But I think it's okay to, and DiDi's a great example of this, like hire people who are different than you and think differently. And then when that tension comes, don't back up. Say, okay, what is this tension showing us? And how can, DiDi will always say more is more. And so instead of us trying to cut the cost of it, let's see how we can both grow professionally, but also kind of in our respective strengths.
Because it was really hard with an organization growing so fast to bring on all these different new positions without knowing what we need. And so we're really in the growing stages for development outreach. We also were able to bring on someone for education. And so we brought on that role at the same time we brought on Paige. And so we're learning through it, but we're really excited where we're headed.
DiDi, tell me about your more is more philosophy. I'm excited about that.
Well, so in kind of like piggybacking on what they've said, it's definitely one of those things where, like, if you're going to be at Kids Hub, you got to have a growth mindset. If you don't have a growth mindset, if you've got the fixed mindset, you won't make it here. You won't survive here, not because we don't want you here, but because you'll be so uncomfortable here. Because everything's growth. Like, even in our programs, we might have the max staff that we really need to manage the capacity, but we're not done growing in the way in which we provide those services. And so from that perspective, like with them, it was, you could just see that naturally Erica has such a gift when it comes to initial acquisition. And then Paige has such a gift for all things relationship. And so, like, I despise writing thank you notes, and Paige loves it. And she's so great at it. And Erica,
she just lit up.
Erica is like, she walks into a room and she sees someone she doesn't know, and we joke about it because it's by the time she walks out of the room, she knows lots of things about them, but she knows their bank account number, and they've done.
That's right.
Yeah. And
That's
it's
right.
the most random blue collar chicken poultry farm. They would never donate, getting the largest donation. It's like, right. You just did it.
We're going to dig into that. There's already so much I want to talk about.
So that's the more is more, though. It's like more new, more old, more is more, and more is what's going to continue to keep us growing.
Quick pause before we jump back in. We just hit a huge milestone on the podcast. 200 episodes of fundraising, messaging, psychology, leadership, growing your impact without burning out. If you found this show helpful to write the next email, make the next ask, rethink a campaign, or just keep going when fundraising felt heavy, would you leave me a quick rating and review? It helps more nonprofit listeners find the show, and it tells me what's landing with you. I read every review, and I'm so grateful you're here. All right, back to the episode. Do you naturally, DiDi, have an abundant mindset? I wrote down that then you immediately said growth mindset. I was like, that's it. Because you do, I can tell your team does. In just talking to them now over the course of 2 conferences, I'm like, there's some magic here. Is that something you have cultivated and worked on throughout the years? Is that something that you brought to the organization when you founded it?
So I would definitely say it's something that I've brought to the organization. It is who I am just very naturally. But what I have really had to identify is, while it's a great strength when it comes to a growing organization, it's really important to put people around me that can challenge my growth mindset. Not that they have a fixed mindset, but that they have growth, but maybe they're not ready to do it quite as fast as I am. And maybe they want to have all the parts and pieces figured out before we move ahead. Whereas I'm like, hey, it's great. Taking risks strategically. That's what I like to say. I'm a strategic risk taker. But like, I want to take the risk. And if we fail, like, we just learned a lot, And so I'm open to lots of opportunity, but it's really important to put people around me that don't necessarily share the same level of vision and growth that I do, but that have like a version of it. We've been doing a lot of just kind of internal looking, and just the importance of our entire leadership team having that visionary capacity. It's the only way that you'll survive here, because otherwise I feel like we move at lightning speed and you may not be ready for what's coming.
Yeah. If you want to like tinker and think about it and leave things in draft mode and kick the can, like.
But I go at a pretty fast rate, but I am that human. So the opposites equal out.
I think it's a spectrum. And so I think it's a spectrum that we're all on. But if you are willing to move faster, it sounds like you're going to thrive in your organization.
Right. DiDi mentioned this to a donor the other day. Like, the need is still there. Like, what service are we doing if we can provide these amazing services, but we can't scale it to meet more children? Like, the reality is we're serving 3% of the population when we should be serving 10% of it. And like, any cause you're behind, like, there's more need out there than you have staff for. Like, what service am I to this organization if I'm going to shut the door because I can't go in here and or I can't go and fundraise? Like, that need is there. The kids are still coming regardless of whether or not you donate or not. So that's on us to make sure we're ready when the need is ready. And like, you can't wait around, because you never know when that next case is going to come in or when the next opportunity for expansion is. And so like, that's the abundance mindset of like, there's an abundance of a need. So I better get on board with an abundance of resources and crazy ways to get money or like whatever I can do, because I know for a matter of fact, tomorrow it's going to come and there's going to be another 10 kids here. Who's going to pay the staff? Who's going to keep the lights on? Who's going to open the door for them? I have to find a way,
Yep. So let's talk about some of those crazy ways. What are some ways that you feel like are outside the box or I had an idea, I ran with it, or I was in a room and before we know it, we got the chicken poultry farmer sponsor? Like, what's working?
Have you done goat yoga to raise money? Because
we did goat yoga.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's not a very clean fundraising event. It's really messy.
Is it loud? Because they yell.
And
too.
They do. It's stinky. And
you don't even notice the noise over the smell.
The smell.
You're like, the noise is fine. It's the smell. Got it.
I will say, I'll let DiDi kind of start a little bit about our Power 100 Women or Paige, either one of them. And kind
of I would love to hear about that.
Because that is, it's working for us right now. And I think we'll start there.
Yeah, I'll let Paige talk more about it, but I'll tell you where it came from. So back, probably 12 years ago, I'm at a training that I have to be at to start a CAC. And I run into this guy from Kentucky. Kansas City, that tells me, hey, we do this event where we look for 100 women to raise $100,000. And I'm like, oh, note to self. And I wrote that down. And we found some historical content, which is really beautiful, because we tried to do this like the first year trying to get off the ground. But funny story, I didn't think it would be possible to get 100 women to give $1,000. So we changed it to, for whatever reason, I thought it would be easier to get 1,000 women to give $100. It was not.
Spoiler alert. Tell everybody it is
I
not.
think she was at like 10 women. Money. It was awful. So we kind of held on to it. But it was a good, like,
yeah. Of like, I'll ask more people, or in this case, women, to give less. That's actually, that's a volume game, and that is harder. So you did instead tell us.
And we said never again. And so, but we held on to the power of 100 women. And so 4 years ago, I said, we ought to do it. It's time. We've got the women. I think we can get a good base there to get it started. And so we've been doing it now for 4 years. Truth, first 3 years, we did not hit 100 women. But in year 3, we exceeded $100,000. And so year 4, we exceeded 100 women and $100,000. And Paige has really taken just what she's really skilled at, and I'll let her talk about that, but how she has taken it to say, okay, we're not going to change the name from Power of 100. So now what are we going to do with the 100 women? And now what are we going to do with more money than $100,000? And how are we going to scale it? So you can share your...
What have we come up with?
Yes. Okay. So I have a background in sales, and I really think if everyone in a development department had a commission structure, you would get a lot more creative, because I know what it's like at the end of your quarter to try to get your bonus to pay your house payment, and you're like, I got to get away. And so I think it's all about getting creative and knowing those donors. So this year we were at 106 women and $149,000. And so that's really a mix of peer-to-peer fundraising. And at front, we would look at the data and say, okay, only 17% is coming from peer-to-peer. And this is so much work internally. But then when we trap back new acquisition to that giving circle, they're coming from those peer-to-peers. And so you kind of learn what works in network marketing is people give to people.
So let's slow that down for the listeners. So you're saying the peer-to-peer from a revenue level was like 17%, which would have been easy to say, maybe we do it, maybe we don't do it anymore. But what you saw was it's a pipeline for
Big
more
pipeline.
People to do. So it's
Pipeline.
a lead generator. Yes.
And so now it's identifying women in different counties, in different social circles, in different groups, in approaching them to say, hey, Christina, would you be interested in hosting an event? Say you love Mahjong. That's the big hit here in the South, Mahjong. Hey, would you be willing to host a Mahjong social? Now, Christina's going to invite 50 of her friends to this. Are we going to raise a ton of money? Probably not. But now we have access to 50 women who are bought into our mission because their friend Christina's bought into our mission. And now Christina's doing all the work for me on the advocacy side and putting me in a position where I can use Christina as a great word of mouth tool to say, hey, this is why Christina cares about this. Can you come alongside? You seem like a woman who's really invested in our community too.
Yep.
And so it's a great acquisition. And then we're making up the difference in one-time gifts, upgrading those as we continue to expand, and then building out a really solid recurring pipeline. We find most people are going to be really uncomfortable to pick up the phone and have to talk to someone at their local nonprofit to cancel their card. We do make it as painless as possible. We'll send you a video but now we're on a recurring schedule. And they don't cancel it. I mean, we have women who have been with us for 4 years. And so now, instead of the metrics being 100 women, $100,000, we're looking at how many women are joining from member referrals. We're tracking why women aren't renewing and what their next landing place will be. We're tracking what's our retention rate. And then we're saying, hey, DiDi, I had a goal of 135 and my next goal is 150, but I came in at 149. So now it's like, what about 175? And I'm like, let me go puke really quick. Let's get back on the horse and do it. We'll find a way. And so it's just about leveraging other people's access. And so that was the whole charge was, hey, in addition to your gift, what does your influence look like? What do your professional skills look like? In what ways can you be advocates for us in the community where us three can't get to all those places all the time to build up kind of those volunteers, those peer-to-peer volunteers to do the work for you as you can focus more your energy on keeping those few connected. And I think where Eric and I both struggle in this is releasing control a little bit, because
Ooh, say more.
people will come with a great idea and maybe not the greatest graphic, or an idea that you're like, wow, you seem really passionate about that.
Yeah.
And they will blow our minds. I think of a donor that I kind of struggle with the ideal donor profile, because you think you have it and someone will come out of left field that you would have overlooked and does things I would never think about doing and I would never really want to do, and has generated an astronomical amount of revenue, but also just will go and go and go and speak about us to anyone. And it's like, well, if I would have done that, I would have never done it. And I would have tried to control all of that. It would have never been successful because it's not authentic to them. So I try to remind myself, okay, let the donor lead.
Yeah.
Which is where some of these fun events come from. The goat yoga, it was one of our Power of 100 women. And she had committed to be a Power of 100. And she said, oh, I have goats in my backyard. Like, what do y'all think about goat yoga? And we're like, okay, great. And so there's just all kinds of, and not everyone hosts events, but we have a lot of women that want to host events. And so they're creative for their own interest. And so that's where, different events appear, raffles, certain things that they want to raffle off. One lady owned a seafood store. And so she wanted to raffle off an entire crawfish boil with all the fixings and just everything. And so that was not something Paige and I typically would think about, like, oh, let's get a seafood store to provide catering for a party at someone's house. Like, that just wouldn't come first to mind to us. But like, that's how we were tied into that. And now everyone that purchased seafood, that purchases seafood at that store, she's got all our flyers up and our sign and a donation box. And so it's really neat how it has been able for us to expand so widely without the two of us physically having to walk in businesses.
Okay, so maybe let's say a little bit more on that point. So you've been able to expand without having to hit the pavement, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you're doing this digitally through email, through phone calls, through
so actually, and I know you and I spoke about it.
Yeah.
We encourage anyone to be members of their local ADP, their Chamber of Commerce, any type of business networking organizations in your community. It's really so impactful of the networking that can happen. And recently, we're actually fundraising right now, seeking sponsors for an event we have coming up in July. And I went through our area development partnership list of every single person on there and sent them an email and talked about how that we're also members of the ADP and we want to network and get to know your business and see how how we can support each other. And here's what we do. And that's how the chicken plant is now a sponsor for our event in July. And I have a yeast company and I have a
cellulose.
I have a paper company, things that we would have never originally, a lot of these places are just warehouses and they're not, your typical furniture store or places that you would go to ask for sponsorships. And so
why do you think they said yes?
Because no one else is asking, I guarantee it. I guess that's one thing I will say about our culture here is, and something that we would advise everyone, like, do not be afraid to make the ask. The worst thing that they can say is no. And that's okay.
Because you're not asking the chicken plant, you're asking John Smith at the chicken plant, and John Smith probably cares about children in the community. And so it's like, even if that company, their logo is not going to be the most glamorous on all your social media sponsor shout outs, they're probably not getting asked. They still have that budget set aside and they still really care about the community. Who's asking them?
Yeah. And so, and that was just through email. Like, I have not personally gone to any of these warehouses or factories. But it was connecting that, like, you're a member of this organization and, like, I would like to introduce ourselves, and I invite them all to come for a tour. And we do the same thing. We had gone to a United Way banquet, and after the banquet, I had the list of all of the board members and where they worked. And so I reached out to them, and I led it with, like, thank you for putting your time into supporting United Way, because we're a partner of United Way, and we receive funds from United Way. And so it was more so of like, thank you so much for serving on the board for them, because that supports us. But now let me also share with you, exactly what we do here. And like, if you want to learn more, we want you to come tour. We want you. And that also led to immediate sponsorships. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, people that you're interacting with in different ways, whether it's a banquet you attend or someone maybe that sits on your board, maybe they attend a different event. And just using that. But I mean, like I said, a majority of that has been phone call or email. It's not even us physically going there.
It's incredible.
It's just because we're making the ask.
Mm-hmm. Imagine how dangerous we are when we all show up in a room together.
Yeah. When we do physically go, it's like, okay, we're on a mission.
It's game on.
Want everyone to understand our mission and our hearts and our passion. And like,
we have like a 2-second moment where we're like, okay, did you see that one?
Yeah,
that one and that one? Okay,
that
divide and conquer. And like, we'll be back in the front.
So I think a couple things I want to underscore here. If not for the growth mindset of your organization culturally, you wouldn't be reaching out to those sponsors because you would decide there's no alignment. They're going to say no. It's not a fit. Like you would have, like, I can think of so many other fundraisers who would never send the email because they'd be like, never mind. So I want to highlight that for other things. The other thing is, it sounds to me, based on what you're saying, that you're in a slightly more rural community, not a major city. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have 2 colleges here, and so but we serve 9 different counties. And so while the county we're located in is, we call it a big city of Hattiesburg, but it's a small southern town. But like the majority of the counties are
very rural.
Very rural.
So it would be easy, again, for somebody in your shoes to be like, it's just so hard right now. Our community is small or rural or, we're not a big city. No one knows about us. All these thoughts, right? And I'm like, that's why I wanted to have you on, is because you're thinking about the same set of circumstances that thousands of organizations have so differently. You're like, I'll go to the United Way thing. Everybody, okay, sure, I'll go there too. But you're thinking about it differently. You're thinking about it strategically, and you're thinking about it in a way where there's natural alignment. The way you walked through that process, I'm like, it makes so much sense. But really, like, kudos to how you're thinking about it, because I think it's very different, and that's really awesome.
What DiDi says. We're not a charity. We're a business. And we want to be a community partner with you. We don't need your leftovers. We don't need your secondhand, and we're kind of constrained to that. We take snack donations, and that's about it. But like, finances is what's run the service. And so how can we create something sustainable? And I think leading with that builds a lot of respect, especially with business owners. Say, hey, we're going to be a good steward of your finance, but like, the way we serve children in our community, it doesn't discriminate who's being served. So why should I not discriminate who I'm going to ask? I'm going to ask everyone because it's affecting everyone. And if I can have that confidence that like I'm a sustainable business and I am offering a service that is essential to our community well-being and it's essential to everyone, I'm not going to come with my tail tucked. Miss Dorothy, our 80-something-year-old volunteer, says, I don't ask, I tell. And they decide how
she does. Give. She gets the most. We have a bingo event in one of our smaller communities, and she gets the most sponsors because she says, like, I don't ask, I tell. I go in and say, this is the organization. This is what we do. This is what, do you want to join us? Do you want to work alongside us? Do you want to, and so,
yes. And that's magnetic. I think you're drawing people in. Yeah, go ahead, Erica.
We also create opportunities, though, because with each one, we want to find what's best for them. So there's an energy company, and each year they really want a way for their team to come into the building to do something. So the year before last, they striped our parking lot. And then this year, I had a ton of things. We moved into a new building not too long after their volunteer day. And so I had a ton of things that needed to be hung on the wall. And so all these men came in from the energy company and hung things on the wall for me. But it's having those conversations of like, that was really meaningful to them. So within that partnership, it's not just about, oh, you're a sponsor, we say hello to you that day. It's, do you want, would you like to make friendship bracelets? Would you like for us to come? Would you like to host a teddy bear drive? Now we purchase our bears new, but we still do fundraising for the money to purchase those Build-A-Bears. And so it's really kind of finding what connects with them. and their organization. Some of them are really flashy. They want everything to be done. They want the whole company to come here, take a big picture with a big fancy check. Other people, are just like, no, I'll just sign this. You don't even have to tell anybody I donated. So we really work on those relationships and kind of figuring out a way to keep them connected to us, and not just that one time a year, but throughout the year. If we're having other opportunities for them of service or ways that they can be involved or volunteering and so forth, we're continuing that conversation and not just they asking once, thanking them once, and we're done.
Checking a box.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. I want to talk a bit about storytelling, privacy, given the nature of your work. Again, I could think of many other organizations with the same circumstances that would, but me. Yeah, but I can't tell a story because it's children. Yeah, but it's really hard to get, any good impact stories, spotlights, to get donors to understand because of privacy. How do you think about storytelling, impact reporting, just in general? How do you think about that?
So I'll take a stab at this one. So one of the things that we've gotten really creative with and very thankful for is AI. And so we're honest about it. We're transparent about the use of AI because we cannot tell, one kid's story very specifically. Sometimes our stories make it into the news based on arrests and trials and things like that. And so I've gone out and told you a little piece of that story. If we're too truthful about it, you could connect the dots. And so instead what we do is we utilize AI and we kind of meld several kids' stories together to kind of give you a scenario of a child. Again, we're very honest that that's what we've done in our story. But what we always link it back to is like the hope that the donor can give. Because again, like one of the hardest things that I feel like, what we're selling is we're selling that hope. We're not selling, Lord willing, it'll never be a service that the person donating to us will ever need, right? We hope that they never need our service. We hope that they never have someone that they know personally walk through our doors. Reality is not necessarily the case. So in that regard, even if you do have to use our services, you don't really want people to know about it. So you're never going to say that you're giving because of what was given to you and what you received when you were here. It's not anything anyone wants to truly acknowledge. And so no one wants to talk about a forensic interview. When we say, hey, you're giving to provide a forensic interview, no one knows what that means. It's too semantic, coordinated case management. No one knows what that means. And so we talk about the hope. We talk about the hope that when the children walk through our door, there's a brighter future that awaits them because of the resources we've been able to provide, because of the information that we've been able to get to families. It's the hope for tomorrow. I think one of the taglines we've used before is that we want to create an opportunity where children feel hope for tomorrow, more hope for tomorrow than they did for today. And so it's that notion of like, that's what you're contributing to. You're contributing to opportunities for children. We can't write their story. We can't dictate that even if we do everything well and right, that they won't still end up being a negative statistic. We can't write that story. But what we can tell you is without the services, they're less likely to have that opportunity. And so by providing and helping us sustain what we do, like that's the gift. They get the gift of hope. And so we do have to get creative. And now it's not, don't get us wrong. We were sitting at GiveCon, Paige and I elbowing each other going, we just wish sometimes we could share a picture too. Like, because it is easy to say not me, but it's the notion of like, well, I can't do it that way, but I can do it some way. And so I've got to get creative. I've got to share a version of this story. And then a lot of times we'll even use a very edited type quote that we've heard, like a child has said, like, for listening to me, no one's ever listened to me before. It's very generic, but it's a true quote that we've heard a child say. We don't tell you their age, we don't tell you their gender, but it's a true statement. Or we hear a caregiver say, like, I didn't feel like we knew where we were going to go from here. And now, like, still maybe I don't know completely, but today I feel like I have a little more hope for what the outcome for our family is going to look like. And being able to share that kind of testimony in the work that we do is the way we have to tell the story. Also add, this new building changed the game for us in being able to tell the story. When we designed this building, we took it down to the studs. It had 4 walls. We built everything back so intentionally. And the layout mattered so that we could get donors in the building and we could tell the story about the work that we do when we walked through the building. And so I say it to donors all the time when they come through. Yes, we built this place for kids and families, but we built it for you too. Because until you walk through the doors, until you see where the children are sitting, until you hear and feel about that experience in the space, you don't really completely get it. And that has, in my opinion, has changed the game on the connectedness they feel.
What was the building like before? Did it prevent you from giving tours before? How so?
Yeah. So we would give tours in our old building, but like it was hard to tell the story of the work we did. So like we had one big giant room where we had 7 different employees sitting. And so you had a hard time telling the story of like, hey, this employee does that and this employee does that. Whereas now we host them throughout the day, even when things are going on. And we have the ability to prevent ourselves from walking down certain hallways but still kind of get the feel. But one thing that we've really done that Paige and Eric have done a great job of is integrating staff into the conversation and giving them a place with donors, whereas historically we really haven't. And so setting aside time to say like, hey, we want you to talk about the impact of forensic interviewing when the donor walks through the door. We want you to talk about the impact of mental health and the services that we offer. And so you're on a 30-minute tour, but you're not listening to me talk the whole time. I'm just filling in the gaps until you get to the next staff person.
Yeah, I love that.
We have heard time and time again from donors that hearing how passionate our people are about the work that they do, like I'm passionate too, but they get to be like a different kind of passion. And so we even talk about that when we walk through the building. When we get down the leadership hallway, we're like, hey, like this is like the brains that keeps it all up and running, but everywhere else is where the heart lies. And so it's these passionate staff that keep the heartbeat of what it is that we do alive. This is just the brains that make sure the money's in order, that the lights are on, that the doors are opened, that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And I'd say too, like with that, not only like through using AI and the stories and so forth, one thing that's really impactful for us is using our teddy bears. So we do have bears. And like, I know I mentioned with you, Christina, when we were at GiveCon about our Giving Tuesday, and we did a Giving Tuesday campaign. And that campaign, we were asking for people to provide a bear to a child. And so having images of the bears when we can't use the image of the child. We also have a teddy bear closet that has little outfits and sunglasses and accessories and a birth certificate. And so the child gets to go and select an outfit and dress their bear. And so having images displayed of the closet and, someone holding a bear. And because that's something that someone that's donating can picture, not the child's face, but they could picture a child receiving a stuffed animal and how they would feel comfort and the joy. Yeah. Everybody can understand that feeling. And so that's another way to spark that feeling without actually using images or the exact stories. Like we find it, just so meaningful. And we have a lot of people that really want to get behind the bears. Like they'll call and say, every year I give because I want to provide bears to the children. And like, and so it's funny because we kind of say like, oh, we really need to find something additionally besides the bears, because everybody
what's the other bear?
Like, what's something else we can do? So we try to get creative with finding those other opportunities as well. But we get a really good response from displaying, which is really just like a step that the child's going through when they're in our building. So there could be creative ways of like, whatever your nonprofit is, something that you do on the daily, but using an image of that could just be as impactful of somebody seeing that if they're not able to be in your building, but using those real life. We did a rebrand last summer. And one thing that they told us is, you don't really need stock images on your website. You need to have a photographer come into the building, have actual pictures of the building and get people familiar. No matter if it's a cardboard box and like you have the smallest nonprofit and no money, like that's what needs to be displayed, is like making sure that you're spending time to like put in from the branding side and the marketing of where you're actually working and where these families are coming.
With the bears, I have a question, which is, I understand psychologically that donors would connect with that because it's in the sort of toy drive space where you're like, toys, I get to purchase, and it goes to a child. Are you doing it so that their donation goes towards a bear? Is it like by tiers? Like donate X for one bear?
It depends on
Like-
the event or the campaign.
So like the Giving Tuesday campaign, we broke down what does it cost to provide a child with a bear? How many bears are we giving out? And then we utilized, again, that same staff mentality of like we had like a competition. There was no reward, like friendly competition.
Let's say you won.
Like we made graphics of every staff member in front of the bear closet.
Yep.
Okay, my goal is to fund 26 bears for 2026.
Okay.
And so we tied that exactly. Now, what we learned from that is we were able to raise a lot of money, but it's very restrictive to that bear program. Okay, so now we have the year funded for bears. How can we change that wording a little bit to say, hey, let's give hope for children, and it's an image with a bear or something, but the only way that child gets a bear is they've gone through the advocacy, they've gone through the first interview, the court.
Yes.
And so even though the bear feels good and it's a great story to tell, if we can change that wording to make it a little unrestrictive, we can allow that money, and the donors are fine with that.
And
I love that. I highly recommend that.
So like for our gala last year, we actually it was a casino theme and we did bid on bears. And so people would place bids to cover bears for us. And so because we specifically were marketing that, then we were like, okay, we need this money to go to that. So while you can do it a couple of times a year, you don't need an endless supply of money that's just restricted for teddy bears only. So we have to, when using, wording of marketing other things, now sometimes there is a donor that will say, I want to give you $500 and I want my money to go to bears. And so then we just, so we have to be like careful with how we can't use the bears every single day, or then we would just have like $1 million for bears and nothing else in the building. But
I wanted to flag that because I think some people get stuck in what is more of an old school fundraising model with like some sort of Amazon wish list for bears, and people are never actually making a donation. They're like buying a bear and it gets sent to you. So I want to flag that for everybody. This is a fundraiser with a financial goal, and the theme is the bears. And now you're going to kind of widen it a little bit because it will be, the bears don't really exist without the program existing in these touch points. So really, really smart. And I love like the iteration on that. I'm curious what you would tell a nonprofit leader or fundraiser who is trying to grow right now, but maybe is struggling, isn't sure what to try next, is feeling a little depleted. What advice would you give them?
I think the one that I would probably give, and we've had this conversation literally with a donor on Friday, is I think that sometimes we want to get, and I struggle with this with my board too, right? That sometimes we want to get into the mindset that all the money has to be there, all the plans have to be perfect before we can take the next step. And in my experience, having the faith to take the next step before all the details, before all the money's fleshed out, is oftentimes the best opportunity to get people to buy into what you're doing and to support it. And I will say that this build out that we did, we did a $680,000 renovation that we paid cash for. And we built the revenue as we did it. It wasn't like we raised $680,000 and said, let's.
So hang on.
Yeah.
That is business mindset. I want to underscore that. The three of you are so smart. You're thinking like business owners. You're thinking like sales professionals, which is we got enough money to get going. Let's get going. And then we're going to go. We're going to keep raising as we go. And it's a leap. It's a leap.
It is.
That's amazing.
And again, like, I think that nonprofits in general, like whether you've had rocky times or whether you haven't, I think nonprofits in general are like absolutely the stone that you need, like the Ebenezer stone to say like, hey, the Lord's been providential always. Like you wouldn't still be here if he hadn't, because people buy into what it is that we're doing to support the community. And so a lot of people are happy to support something because they weren't the ones called to get their hands in, hands dirty, doing the work. And I say to people all the time, and we get this comment, I don't know how you guys do what you do. And I'm like, no, like, I'm so thankful to do what I do. And they're like, how does this work not keep you up at night? I'm like, I promise you the kids that walk through our doors, no matter how hard the stories may be from time to time, those are not the kids that keep me up at night. It's the kids that I know should be coming through my doors, but aren't. Those are the ones that keep me up at night. And so what Paige said, I got to plan for those kids to come through my doors. I got to be thinking about what I'm going to do to educate the community, what I'm going to do to build up the financial support to prepare for when those kids come. Not if, but when. And so for me, like that would probably be what I would say to the leader who's just wanting to grow, but you don't have to wait till it's all perfect to do it. In fact, growing through the imperfection is really where it's the most beautiful. You will respect the process so much more. Everyone will get so much more out of it.
And you'll go to goat yoga.
You'll go to goat yoga.
Get creative.
That's right.
You'll bond differently over the process, and not just with your staff, not just with your board, but with your donors too. They feel so incredibly appreciative to be part of what we are doing here. They can't do it because they have day jobs and this isn't what they were called to do, but they love knowing the impact that they're having by whatever new growth thing they're having. I mean, don't worry. Like every day I'm like, oh, DiDi, what can you do to not grow today? I'm like, you can't do nothing.
And we tell her, no more projects. And then she reminds us, like, wait, what is our purpose? But I would say too, like, people are giving, like, as far as advice to people that are struggling or maybe gone through, don't really know what to next do. People are giving, I promise. Like, it may, like, you may have to keep trying things and you'll have failures, and that's okay. Like, that's one thing with us is like, we're okay to accept that, like, whatever we thought was a grand idea really didn't make us much money and kind of was a waste of our time. So, like, maybe we should try something different. And we do try things different. And then, like, we tried lots of things before we got to Power of 100 Women. And, like, now Power of 100 Women's working. And it doesn't mean it'll always work. We'll probably have to, change it to something else. Who knows? In 30 years, we may have already reached all the women and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't know. Men.
That's right.
There we go.
We got nothing but little girls growing up right now.
That's right.
We got
That's
women
right.
for days.
So just, like, keep the mindset of, like, people are out there that are willing to give, and there's, and I would say too, like, if you don't have someone within your organization, find an intern that could, like, if you're not the best at social media and you really need to create an awareness, then find a local university or post online and find an intern or find a network. Go to some of these networking events. Find someone that's interested in that may know someone that can help guide you for an area you're struggling with. Because, like, having a whole bunch of different people in your bubble is better than you just solely trying to control everything, figure it out, create it yourself. Like, figure out what the organization is lacking and go find it. And just make the ask.
Yeah. Get out of your own way, right?
I think too, like, especially I know a lot of fundraisers, it's kind of the one-man show too, but something that's helped me is, like, I feel like I'm doing the easiest job in the building, and it's not worth it for me to go to our direct service staff and be like, I'm too nervous to email these people. I got told no. Like, they're doing the hardest work every single day. The children who are coming in are the bravest children. Like, they did not ask for what happened to happen to them. I can pick up the phone. And, like, I think we get in such a defeated mentality and we think we can settle for what we have or what funding's available or our donors. We get all these assumptions. And I think you said it, like, it's not a strategy. It's your strategy to keep yourself comfortable. And to be honest, I'm probably the most comfortable person in the building because I'm not providing the direct service staffs. Like, I can do things to make me uncomfortable to make everyone else comfortable. And I really have to give myself a reality check a lot. And a lot of that is speaking to people on our direct service staff and hearing stories that make me uncomfortable and seeing results I don't love, because these children, again, are not asking to come through our doors. And so I'm okay asking all of these people, I'm asking them again. I'm asking them for more. We're asking the chicken plant. We're going to go yoga, because at the end of the day, we have the cushiest job here. And, like, I just don't think there's room for excuses. I don't think it would bode well with direct service staff if I'm going to complain that, I didn't hit my goal when they're really doing the life-changing work. So to them.
I just have to highlight that is such a beautiful perspective that so many fundraisers don't have. Like, that really is remarkable. I see it in all of you, but I'm glad you said it out loud, Paige, is you have a perspective where you're like, I'm just the vessel. Sometimes I tell my clients, like, you're the conduit. Like, you're not asking for money so you can go to Vegas. Like,
Right. No.
But so many people are just so scared. That rumination cycle lasts for such a long time. But I think it's really helpful that you see it in real time where you're like, I can call another human. What this person over here is doing, that's hard. And yeah. And so getting out of your own way, I think it's a really smart way to look at it. I'm glad you shared that with everybody.
It's a little tough sometimes, but it's like,
it's tough.
Sometimes we create such a soft environment, and DiDi probably plays to that. Like, I don't feel like she's ever breathing down our backs. Like, she knows I'm going to beat myself up more than anyone if I don't meet my goal, but she's not going to let me settle for the most comfortable goal either. But it's like, get back involved in your mission and like realize the people you're serving, like there's a need out there. And like Erica said, people want to give. And if they say no, knock on the next door, call the next person. Like, people will come and they will give and they do care, but they can't do that if you're too scared.
And also too, like Paige and I actually had this conversation this morning. She came in my office and was telling me something that she did. And she said, hey, I actually reached out to some of our donors that are a little bit more involved and asked their feedback about this event, because I'm planning an event for next year. And so like, ask their event, like not only ask for someone's donation or sponsorship, like the people that are donating, ask them feedback, ask them about what do they think is going well, what do they think? Because just you making that ask, you may learn so much more that you really didn't even think about or realize maybe that the event or the fundraiser wasn't hitting, just by asking those people as well.
So good. So we ask everybody on the podcast our final question. So we've gotten to that time now. It's just been I could talk to you for 4 more hours. So we'll have to do this again, which is, would you share with us a mantra, a quote, an affirmation, just something that you find to be really helpful, a thought you like to think on purpose that is helpful for this work? And you can share one as a group or one separately, whatever feels good for you.
We all have a different why, probably.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of mine right now. I'm like, wait a minute. Let me think about this. Y'all go ahead.
Mine is one that that really came out of some executive coaching that I've done, and anybody that had gone through this particular leadership exchange group, we would always say, "What would Martha do?" Because that was the executive coach, and she's still my executive coach. But one of the phrases that she used to use, and like seeing it in practice is just so impactful. But slow down to speed up. And so it's one of the things that applies generically across the organization. But like to Erica's point, like slow down, identify what's missing, spend time there and figure it out. Add the team that's hard to manage because you don't even know what to tell them either, and spend the time in that with them, because ultimately you will speed up in the end. It cost me, as the CEO, right? It cost me a lot of time to invest in a development team. But if I went back and looked at what my development team has done over the last 2 years compared to what I was able to do by myself, essentially in the last 9, they far outpaced me, and they will continue to do that. But it's that living in the season where you intentionally slow down with the goal of speeding up.
That's great. I call that planting seeds sometime, where you're like, I'm planting these seeds. And then they start blooming. You're like, there they are. And so, it's hard. It's hard when you're the visionary to slow down, to speed up, but that's the work. So that's a great one. Paige, yours?
If you were to ask me when I graduated college if I'd end up at a nonprofit, I would say no, and I never thought I would end up something like this. Like, nothing on my resume says you're going to do great at a nonprofit. DiDi has this crazy thing of saying, you just pray about it. And, like her and the Lord have always settled on it, and you've got the job the next day. And so sometimes I think, like, people say, oh, it's so hard. Like, how do you do this? And it's like, there's so much darkness in the world. Like, what a joy it is to be a part of this story of redemption. And like, I tell donors all the time, like, your name is written on thousands of stories of hope and healing. And like, those children are you'll never know who they are, but they see you. DiDi said this at the ball fields. They see you at church camp. They see you everywhere. Like, these are real children just like yours and mine. And I remember the first week on the job thinking, this doesn't happen to people like me. And every single child who walked in had like looked just like my son, acted like my son. And it was like, thank you, Lord, for giving me this set of skills where I thought I could only use it in the business or somewhere. To use that, like I was created for a purpose for this very moment in time for the thousands of children we serve. One Canva at a time, girl. Like, I'm not doing the hard lifting, but I can use my sales acumen to go and rally a bunch of donors and college kids and frat boys and sorority girls and firefighters and old ladies sewing things to help sustain the work we're doing. And it's like, thank you for all the experience I had. And I think you've got to get on board with a leader who's not just looking at the perfect qualifications, but sees that potential and then learn on the job and let's go. Like every nonprofit is serving some redemptive story. Like, let's think of it that way and let's pick up the phone and have a blessing to be able to make this world a better place. Cause we know, there is so much darkness in it.
Oh, beautiful.
So mine's a little bit more blunt, but that just suits me perfect. So this actually came from a former executive coach that I have when I was not in the nonprofit world, but now being in the nonprofit world, it fits perfectly. And I do think about this all the time. I feel like within the nonprofit, you never have enough staff that you need. So you feel like you're doing 100 million things, juggling 800 things. You never have enough time. There's always more money to raise. And so one thing that I was taught a little while back was don't should on yourself. So I should be doing this. Because all of those negative thoughts, like you need to take the moments to celebrate the small celebrations, like even for something in your office that is just extremely small, celebrate it with your team, celebrate it with yourself, and don't tell yourself at the end of the day, these are not all the things that I didn't get off my to-do list. Mm-hmm. Wow. You know what? I got all of these things off of my list. Because when you live in that, I should mindset, it can just be very draining. And so for me, like for mantra, it's more so of like, I've got to keep that positive mindset and not getting stuck, because once you go down, it's so easily to feel like you just have the weight of your world on your shoulders. And so really just like thinking about your own mental health and thinking about, yes, you want to do all the things, but give yourself some grace and take it day by day.
So good. No shitting on yourself.
Okay. Don't shit on yourself.
This has been such an amazing conversation, as good as I thought it would be. So happy our friends at Bloomerang brought us back together. Hopefully you'll come to Atlanta.
Your rendition of the story. Ours was like, we saw you, we bombarded you. We had an agenda in our heads. We've got to connect with her.
We talked about how handsome the Savannah Bananas players are.
They're great.
But I would love to see you guys in Atlanta. Hopefully we'll see you at GiveCon.
Maybe it'll line up with the Savannah Bananas.
Oh my, can you imagine?
Yeah.
That would be my super fun weekend. Yes. Where can everyone find you? Where's the place you like to hang out? Are you guys Instagram? Are you LinkedIn?
Yeah,
we'll link to all of it in the show notes.
Your personal home address, your bank account routing number, and your phone number will find you. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. No, we do have Facebook, Instagram, Kids Hub. KidsHubMS.com.
Yep.
But also Facebook and Instagram. I think it's just listed as Kids Hub Child Advocacy Center. And then we have LinkedIn as well, and TikTok. TikTok is a little new. We're gonna that's on our grow list. Our TikTok is on our grow list, so it's on the in progress.
Yeah,
awesome. Thank you all so much. This has been an honor.
We appreciate it.
Hey, High Achiever, I know your sights are set on ambitious, world-changing goals. In the Purpose and Profit Club group coaching program, you can get the support, motivation, and strategy to accelerate your impact. I like to say it's where the inner work meets big impact and big funding. Go to splendidcourses.com/waitlist, and you will be first to be notified when we open up doors, and you'll get special bonuses when you join our waitlist. See you inside.